Well, good morning, brethren.
Good morning.
Wonderful to see you here this week. I'd like you to turn to the Book of Proverbs, if you would, with me this morning. I'd like to look at a section here. You know, King Solomon wrote the Book of Proverbs, and he wrote it as a book of wise sayings and instructions to his son. And it is, I believe, without a doubt, one of the most profound books ever written to give young people a foundation for this thing that we call life. You know, all inventors or manufacturers write manuals, every one of them. They write a manual so that you know how to properly use the items that they make or they've invented. They go to great care to list out the warnings, the precautions, the safety instructions, you know, the proper way to use them. I actually have a manual here I pulled out of one of my folders. It's a Dewalt planer manual, and it's not very long. It's if you don't count the Spanish section, it's 8 pages, and it gives you all sorts of things in here. The place to call, you know, where you can contact the manufacturer if you have questions. It has important safety instructions, grounding instructions. Has a whole list of that stuff that goes on there. The specifications, the electrical connections, familiarization, unpacking your planer. You must be salivating here. You like these instructions? There's the depth instruction, the table extension. I mean, there's just almost everything you can imagine in here. Installing a new belt, the reset button, the maintenance, the accessories, calibrating the... I mean, all of these things in here on this manual so you know how to work this planer. It's pretty amazing how they put this thing here together. Well, that's what the Bible is for us. This is our instruction manual. It gives us safety instructions, you know, care, how to contact the manufacturer. I mean, there's all this stuff in here. It's right there. And in the case of Proverbs, God used Solomon to instruct his son, and in turn instructs, God gave Solomon words to instruct his son, and by extension, everyone else's son, and I should say extension by daughters as well. And of course, as we know, I think it says in verse 5 or somewhere around that area, it says the wise can listen too. They have something to get from this as well. There's something to learn from it. So I want to read this section here from verse 8 to 19 in Proverbs chapter 1. My son, hear the instruction of your father, and forsake not the law of your mother, for they shall be an ornament of grace unto your head, and a chain about your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, don't consent. If they say, let us swallow them up alive as hell itself and whole, as those that go down into the pit. We'll find precious goods. We'll fill our houses with plunder. Cast in your lot among us, and let us all have one purse. My son, Solomon says, walk not in that way. Refrain your foot from their path, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in sight of any bird, and they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk secretly for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone, he says, who is greedy of gain, which takes away the life of the owners thereof. So there's this instruction right here at the beginning. In fact, when you look at this, it seems like a pretty brutal thing that he's talking about here. I'm not sure what was going on at the time of Solomon, the things that were happening. People are no different throughout the ages. Human nature hasn't changed. But in this regard, there must have been some marauders around. There must have been some gangs of thieves, murderers around that were possibly recruiting unsuspecting boys to their ranks. It's hard to say, but it's very brutal when we read some of these things here. Now, I was thinking, you know, when we read this through the Bible, sometimes we don't think how this applies to ourselves. And I want to give you what it might have sounded like many years ago. One second here. Get that on my good eye so I can read. What if a 1,700-year-old, pirate was coming after your son? What would they say? What would it be like? Ahoy, matey! Come with us. Let us lie await for blood. Let us ambush for the innocent without cause. Dead men tell no tales. Let us swallow them up alive as hell itself, and whole as those that go down into the pit. Give no quarter to the innocent. Off to Davy Jones' locker they go. We shall find all precious goods, and we shall fill our houses with plunder. Steal the booty, and make them walk the plank. Cast in your lot among us, and let us have one purse. Savvy? What say you, landlubbers? Well, that would be maybe what would happen in the 1700s. What if it was the Wild West? Howdy, partner. You want to have hog killing time? Well, let us swallow them up alive as the grave itself. You can use that shooting iron and take them whole and take them down to the pit. Oh, don't say that dog won't hunt. We'll find precious goods. We'll fill our houses with plunder. Ain't no city slicker vomit going to stop us now. Cast in your lot among us. Let us have one purse. You'll be as full as a tick with us. Well, that'd be the West. What if it was maybe today? Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy, you want to have some fun? Come have some fun with us. Let us go swallow them up alive in hell and take them down to the pit. There's some people out there. We can shoot them up good. It won't matter. Everybody's out there. It won't matter. We can find all precious goods. We can fill our houses with plunder. Let's break in the stores. Let's break down the windows. Let's take as much as we can. Come on, cast in your lot among us. Let's go. We can have one purse. And if there's a bunch of us, well, they can't arrest us all. We can split what we steal. Or maybe if we went way into the future, Luke, come with me. Well, you get the point. That would be his father has become the bad guy in that case. You get the point. So, this can be applied across generations in many different ways. And that's what I was trying to get over to you. This is a general warning. It's a general warning to young people especially. Don't get mixed up with the wrong crowd and give in to peer pressure. It can take you places that you don't want to go. It can mix you up with people that you don't want to get mixed up with and do things that you don't want to do. As verse 17 says, they're spreading their net thinking that they're capturing other people, but they're not even as smart as a bird who knows how to evade a net that's been cast in front of them. These people aren't smart enough. You get caught with them, you get caught altogether. They're really going to catch themselves and you by extension. But I think this begs the question, how does a young man know what is right and what is wrong? How does a young man know what is good and what is evil? Well, I want to give you an example here if I could. I got two $50 bills here. Maybe you can I don't know if you can take a look at them from this distance. Can you tell which one's real and which one's fake from here? You can't tell. Can you tell? Look at that. See if you can tell the real one from the fake one. See if Hank can. Hard to tell. Anybody else want to take a look? You want to take a look, Fred? There. I'm sure Hank would know. Okay, you can tell. Now, how do you know? How did you know what was real and what was fake? The strip. Because the strip. But somebody had to tell you the strip was there, didn't they? And if you look on the back, I think it says play money or something of that nature, too. But you just didn't see that. But the point is that somebody had to tell you on what to look for. Another example right here I have two x-rays here. And I think you'll have a better time with money than you might with this. But these two x-rays right here, can you tell which one's relatively good and which one has a pathology? I'd be surprised if any of you could unless you've studied x-rays before. But if somebody's been studying x-rays, they would pop out right to them. This person has an atlantoaxial problem here where the angle is, or the opening is like, way big. It's huge. It's a big, big problem. So the point is that you've got to know good, right, to understand pathology. You've got to know what a proper piece of money looks like to understand a fake piece of money. That's you can have the fake one. So someone had to teach us what's real, what's good, so we can understand what the fake is. And in the same way, it's incumbent upon parents to teach what is good and what is evil. And the only way for parents to know what's right and what's wrong is to look in this instruction manual. That's the only way. Notice what Solomon says in 1 verses 2 to 7. To know wisdom, that's why he wrote this, and instruction to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance. To understand a proverb and a saying, the words of wise and the riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. One of the most tempting things for young boys is to explore and to do new and exciting things. Exploring is often done online now versus the way it used to be when you guys grew up. You didn't have an online presence anywhere. You went out and explored in the woods if you lived in the country. You would explore around the neighborhood if you lived in the city. And you'd often do it with other people, with other boys. And maybe there would be an older person who would try to take you, who were naive, under their wing and get you to do things that you shouldn't be doing. That happened to me when I was young. Kids were smoking in the backyard, and they lured me into it. And I smoked some cigarettes with them. They bring you in, they get you under their control. This is how gangs form. After-school mischief. You get into trouble doing things like this. Online predators on an online presence. In this regard, Solomon says this, listen, son, you're coming of age. You have to pay attention to what your father and your mother tell you. Their sayings are like a garland around your head, and they're like a gold chain around your neck. I don't have a gold chain, but I have to have a chain here. That's what it's like. That's the sayings of the father and the mother, a garland around the head and a chain around your neck. The Israelites felt that these two things were a sign of glory, and they would think of a king or a high noble when they thought of those two things. And this is the image that Solomon wanted his son to have as of the teachings of his parents. Now, your parents probably saved your life at some point or another. I know my parents saved mine because they said, don't play in the street. Little kids don't know that. They don't know what to do. They teach you what to do. So they save our lives, and they keep us from running after sinners and being enticed by them. How is this world doing with instructing youth? Well, they kicked God out of the classroom. They threw the Bible in the trash. They banned prayer in school. And only 22% of people attend church weekly anymore, down from, I think it was 70% back in the 40s. I'd say they're not doing very well. And the evidence is the ever-increasing amount of carnage in school shootings that we saw just like this week. We're not teaching our children in this world what is good and what is evil. We're not doing that as a world. We're not doing a bad job of it. We're not teaching what is good and what is wisdom. And ultimately, brethren, this has application for all of us today as well. Our Heavenly Father has given us the instruction manual of lives to our sons, to His sons, to us. We are His sons. This is instruction manual to us. And He doesn't want us to just fiddle around with life and figure it out. He wants us to read the manual. He wants us to absorb it. He wants us to understand it. And He wants us to live it. Because if we do, and we continue to do so, we will all wear the crown of life at the very end of our lives.